Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Byron.
Hey, folks, please ignore my 5 o'clock shadow. I've been off work for a few days, taking some vacation, so I'm not my presentable self. I did not think y'all would care, though, because you love me just the way that I am, right?
And
Okay, folks.
the people listening on the podcast have no idea what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Say only
So
the
that's
people
why
that.
you watch the videos, too.
Yeah, it's not like we don't put the video. We put the videos on our Patreon page. Try to get those up a little bit early for those guys. But of course, it's on Facebook. After the episodes, I usually air it kind of like later the afternoon. The podcast release in the morning, and then we do the Facebook. You can follow us at Tapped Out Pod, of course, on all the social media, but there especially because that's where you're going to get the video of it as well. And I think it's kind of cool. I've been working on it, tweaking a little bit. It looks a little bit different, getting some feedback from some people.
Yeah.
But hey, let's go ahead and move on to the stuff, right? Let's get down to the nitty gritty. The big news, obviously, this week was we kind of all knew it was coming, I guess. But the WWE makes it official this week, where the women are headlining, main eventing WrestleMania.
Yeah. It's a situation where it's great press. They look great. WWE looks progressive. But did they have another choice? Okay. The women were pretty much, they earned this. They seized this opportunity, and it's what people want to see more than any other main event.
But now WWE has a history, and this is kind of and it's not. Let me back up. It's not even WWE. Wrestling has a history of champion always, and let me rephrase, men's champion
Yeah,
always closes the show, right?
yeah.
To a fault, they've been that way.
Oh, yeah, always.
And what I
Except,
mean by that is, remember 18 WrestleMania, Hogan Rock.
mhm.
Everybody remembers that match. That was not the main event.
Yeah, they
The
had a
main
title
event was
match after
Jericho and Triple H. 'Cause the champions always going last, right?
that. Mm-hmm.
And even Jericho says that match should not have been the main event. Everybody knew the main event was Rock Hogan, but so I guess they had they could have gone a different route and put Brock and Seth last.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's interested in that.
I think
Honestly,
people are interested, but no one, they're not as interested.
if you were to rank it, it would be like 80% or 75% for the women's match, for the number one match, 20% for Daniel Bryan and Kofi for that match, and then 5% for the Brock and Seth match. It has not gotten the press. It is not. I mean, the women are on both shows right now. They're going back and forth between SmackDown and Raw doing this stuff. They're drawing attention everywhere they go. It's all they talk about on the show. They're not even on. So it's a big deal.
It is a huge deal, and I think a lot of people are saying, well, they didn't have a choice. They did, and kudos for WWE for at least acknowledging it and going with it.
Yeah.
It's huge. They were on, the three women were on Sports Center, did an
Mhm.
interview. So that was kind of cool to see.
That's legitimate crossover press right there. That's the legitimate sporting news. So that's good. That's
It's
excellent.
very good.
And bringing in Joan Jett to play Ronda's theme song. How about that?
That's going to be pretty cool. I'm a big
Yeah.
Joan Jett fan, so I actually think that's kind of cool. I'm enjoying that.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to ask you the one question that everybody's probably going to kill me for. This doesn't happen if Ronda Rousey's not there.
No. Ronda Rousey has given the women's division a legitimacy. It already was good, but she was an outside star. It's not a question of she's better than anybody else, which she's really good, but she gave the women's division legitimacy because she's a legit badass. The same way every time Brock comes back, he makes things look better.
Let's be honest. They're out, even on Sports Center. It was the guy, Ronda Rousey, and then Charlotte and Becky on the. So
Yeah.
they even asked her. Think about it. He asked her an MMA question before he talked about WrestleMania. He asked about something we're going to discuss later, but I thought that was just kind of obvious that this doesn't happen. And as much as people want to knock Rousey, she's had a phenomenal first year. She's been on a roll. She's worked extremely hard. The storyline, sometimes you make, sometimes you should have yinged when you yang and vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things don't happen, but this main event doesn't happen if Ronda Rousey's not in it. Charlotte and
No,
Becky, as much as we would love to see them in the main event, would not have been in the main event.
Well, Ronda got it on Sports Center basically. I mean, she put women's professional wrestling on Sports Center. national, which is pretty much network news. Okay, that's good. It's really, really impressive that they've crossed over so many things. So thank you, Rhonda. You've done more for women's wrestling in the year you've been in the sport than some people have in their entire lifetimes. And it's not because of you're better than them. It's just because you bring a exposure to the product that they weren't getting.
Well, think of it this way too. I mean, we're talking about how she's bringing in the casual fan, the sports center fan that doesn't necessarily watch wrestling every week. Does Becky get this hot if it's not with Rousey?
Maybe not. Maybe not. It's the whole thing she's done with, especially on Twitter and Facebook, where she's created that buzz that's outside of your Monday and Tuesday programming, where they can keep it going. Like I've said for years, use social media to keep storylines going between shows. They've done that. But I don't think as many people would have been looking if it hadn't been for Rousey. Nothing against Becky. She's done it. She's the one that has done it and defined herself and made herself so over. But people wouldn't have been looking if it hadn't been for Rousey in the first place.
If there's not the backlash of everybody choosing Becky, you gotta. Ric Flair always said, you gotta have a big baby face to be the big heel, and it's the same way. You gotta have a big heel to have a good baby face.
Yep.
If it's an uneven playing field, then the people aren't buying it. They're not as invested. Mm-hmm. That's why I said I honestly believe. Now, I'm kudos to Becky, by the way. I mean, I'm not saying this isn't selling her short, which some people may take it that way. Her and Charlotte would have done amazing things inside the wrestling bubble. Yep. But outside the wrestling bubble, I don't know that people care. If that makes any sense. So, and that's why I think Rousey.
Watching.
Right. And that's why I think Rousey has drawn in that crowd and made Becky even bigger than I think she would have been with her and Charlotte. Now, here's the crazy part. I wholeheartedly believe Charlotte deserves to be in this match.
Yeah.
And is going to add a lot to it. I think. I'm not saying because it's Ronda still is as much progress as she's made in a year. I think Charlotte and Becky kind of get to do a little smoke and mirrors and a triple threat to make this match even better.
Yeah.
Probably than a one-on-one match was, and that's again, just not knocking anybody involved. That's just I think a fact.
And I typically shit on triple threats, but for some reason this seems like it's going to work, and I'm excited about it. So I think it's got a lot of potential.
Yeah, and so. With all that being said, and all her hard work has always paid off, and maybe she deserves a little behind-the-scenes thank you to Ronda Rousey. Becky's offered a new multi-year deal, making a lot more money. So, hey, kudos, man. Women's wrestling is hot.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't matter who's successful, as long as someone is successful, and people come to see them. All your supporting players will be more successful. Everybody does well when the product does well. It doesn't matter who causes it.
Well, we discussed this a little bit last week. Remember, we talked about how all these other promotions, AEW come in. If they're successful and they draw new eyes, well, people maybe that watch AEW for a first time go, hey, maybe I will. I haven't watched WWE in a while. I'll watch it, or I'll watch MLW. I'll watch Impact. I'll watch Ring of Honor. Mm-hmm. Everybody, the more eyes brought to the product, the better. And it even works down to the level of the wrestlers themselves.
Yeah. And that's the thing I think Southern Honor here in Atlanta has done really well. They bring in big stars, but those stars don't take the spots of their everyday guy. Those stars draw more people to the show, and everybody on the show does better. They don't take spots. They don't have them in positions where they take spots away. They always use them complimentary. Kudos to Dylan for his phenomenal book.
Kid's on a roll up there, and we'll discuss him later, about what they got going on up there at Southern Honor in Canton, Georgia. Do you got anything else on the Becky? I mean,
no.
I just think, like I said, if everybody needs to kind of sit back and enjoy this ride, and if nothing else, it is a good moment in wrestling in general. Ronda on SportsCenter said WWE is a great reflection of society because they tend to copy things that are going on in the world. Mm-hmm. And she brought up the movement of MMA, the women's fighting and women in sports and women just in general. And that, it's a great sign of the times that they're actually on top. Mm-hmm. And they're going to headline Mania, WrestleMania, which is cool. who's not going to main event WrestleMania, but you make the argument. You always can, right? If Triple H is involved, there's always a shot that he's going to be at the top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
That made me think of something, and this is just a total aside. With Joan Jett coming out for Ronda, I really think Lemmy from Motorhead needs to be the guy who's played so many Triple H entrances. Should be the one going into the Hall of Fame this year as a celebrity.
Could happen. You never know. They haven't really done the celebrity, have they?
Yeah, no. But that's just my take. He made Triple H. I mean, Triple H was a legitimate badass prior to Motorhead started doing his theme songs, but they made it work so well, man. It was perfect for him. Triple H is. I mean, he's on my Mount Rushmore. A lot of people don't feel that way, but this thing with Batista is going to be terrific. His career on the line. Now he's done that before. I'm excited. I really am looking forward to this match, and I don't know why.
One of my notes is the first thing was a question. It says, "Does he lose? Is this a I don't want to say a subtle way, but is this a way to get him out of the ring permanently?"
Well, no one's ever out of the ring permanently.
You know what I mean?
He could come back as the H.
Yeah.
And wear
the man with 3 H's with that 3 H's.
Wear an H, a mask with an H on it. Yeah. He's the H. But no, that would be a good way to go out. And with him getting more and more responsibility, it's probably a good thing. But he's got 2 contracts. He has a performer's contract and he has an executive contract, which are both making millions of dollars. So it's kind of hard to say nah. And also with Batista only doing a one-off, it's hard for me not to pick the man with 3 H's,
Well, he the running joke with Batista coming back was a way for Triple H to get his win. He's due a win. Batista always beats him, Yeah. So it's just, this is a way to get his win back. And
Hogan brought Warrior into WCW just for that.
Stranger things have happened, right? And he's in the power, he could pull it off. So
yeah.
So Batista said he wants to go out on his terms. You know what? I got an argument for this one. Why didn't they just twist it around and say, this is just a career match, period. Man who loses, his career's over. He's out of the ring.
Well, we still got 2 more Raws, right?
No.
For Mania. This is the last Raw?
Yeah. The one that we just had is the one.
Oh yeah, we got one more Raw before Mania. So you don't know what could happen. That could be coming up next time. This next week is going to get so intense. It's just going to build and build to like a boiling point before Mania, and it's going to be, it's Mania season. It's the best time of year for wrestling fans. It's Christmas for wrestling fans.
So that'd be a good poll, man. You let us know at all on all our social media places at Tapped Out Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you name it. You can always email us at tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know, do you think this is the moment? Does Triple H need to lose to get him out of the ring permanently, or does he pick up the win? That'd be a good, just a curiosity, right?
Yeah, definitely. Oh, I got an aside. This is something else. I read where the big bad WWE is contacting venues in Tampa, asking and trying to make sure nobody else is running indie shows in the city during WrestleMania week next week. I don't know if this is
not next week. That's for Tampa for the next year.
For Tampa for next year,
Right.
I think it kind of sucks if it's true, but I really don't know how much I believe of it. But it's something I'm going to look into. I'm going to look into and keep following that story.
I could see them saying and contacting buildings in an immediate area, if I don't know if you've ever been to Tampa, but if you got the stadium there and buildings around it, them saying we don't want anything confusing people with our show outside of a certain radius, they can run all they maybe. Yeah. I honestly, the city's not going to turn down business. They're not going to let it happen. Yeah. So that's just my opinion. I know now millions are involved when we're talking WrestleMania, so it's a whole different argument. But
they've got that big ROH New Japan event in Mania weekend this year.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big thing. They've got more competition now. They've got legitimate competition for me. So, but that's an event's got people out in the first place.
Yeah. But I just don't buy the whole he's gonna lock people out completely of because I don't think
I
the
can say
cities and the
big.
businesses are going to say no.
Yeah.
If they're going to get paid, those buildings are going to take the business. So just me personally. But speaking of money, man, right now there's one. This week, like you said, could be argued that could have been the next hottest storyline going right now behind the women.
Mhm.
The Kofi Kingston story. It's got a, it's something I sat back this week and was just thinking about, and some things just kind of really go through your head here. Of, obviously Kofi's going to Mania. He's going to wrestle Daniel Bryan. It's got to happen, right? They built it too
Yeah.
much for it not to happen.
Oh, definitely.
And I heard this question posed on another show where they said, would it be a bigger disappointment for Kofi not to go to Mania? He's going, but we're just saying, would it be a bigger disappointment for him not to go, or would it be him to go and then lose?
Well, I'm pretty sure he's going. I don't know how they're going to book it, but I was under the understanding if they're about to turn around and go to Saudi Arabia, Bryan won't go again. So I'm thinking Kofi wins. I think Kofi gets the first, what I hate to say the first African American champion, but because technically The Rock was black, right?
The Rock says it. They've cleared that up. Rock is going on to say he is equally as proud of his, African American heritage as he is his Samoan heritage, and so he was the first, African American champion. He was also,
Okay.
a Samoan champion as well. But
they'd been Samoan champions.
I'm just saying, but he's, saying that to that degree. So, yes. And that's kind of where I was going with that is, we go back to if he goes to Mania and he doesn't win, are we repeating the Triple H Booker T moment when everybody just knew Booker T was going to win at WrestleMania and didn't?
I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't think that's going to happen. I think this is the time. This is the year. This is the time something happens. You got all the stars lining up, everything, coming together. I think this is the year. And Kofi's the right guy to put it on. He's a solid company guy. He always has been. He's held almost every other title. I think this is good. This is good for business. I think it's time they put it on an African American. And I think it's time we don't even talk about. We get to the point where we don't even have to talk about stuff like that.
Right.
That black champions are not different, which it never should be. But it's time the WWE makes decisions to make, to follow society and follow the future. So,
well, that was my other question is because clearly the card is in, I mean, the angle has become a race angle,
Yeah.
whether they're not going to say it, because they're saying things like people like us. They're not saying,
Yeah.
So they're trying to walk a tightrope here. But my thing is a publicly traded company using the type of angle that they have, essentially, let's be honest with you. If he goes to Mania and loses, is that not like just a slap in the face that they kind of almost put themselves in a situation that he has to win?
It's bad for public relations, and they've worked themselves into a worked shoot corner. So, yeah, I think he has to win. I would hope he wins. So they'll do the right thing for business. And I don't think not letting him win is right for business.
Well, yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, and it's just the angle's so hot right now. And like I said, I think ultimately, and I hate to say it this way, but ultimately it's going to come down to it's not how over Kofi is. It's that Kofi will go to Saudi and perform. Daniel Bryan's not going to. That show's in May. I mean, you let Kofi have a 1 month run plus maybe 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you get to the pay-per-view after Saudi Arabia, and if they don't if it's not drawing very well with him on top, then move somebody.
You're going to see some merch sales go through the roof. Yeah, right now Becky Lynch is the number one merch seller, but I would wager that if Kofi wins the championship, the New Day stuff will blow out.
Well, and because they do it, they got the whatever. No, it's not the brand split because they've already had that, but you know what I'm saying. The draft is after Mania and stuff, so that's I think maybe can refresh some angles and stuff like that that we can get to.
Oh, yeah.
Which is one we've talked about here for a while. That's actually where I wanted to go next. was we're talking about AJ Styles' future. Obviously, he signed his new deal.
Mm-hmm.
We both think he's heading over to Raw. Obviously,
Yeah.
just that's where he belongs anyway, I guess. But here's something that, again, came through my head this week as I was listening. I actually was listening to Taz's show, which,
Mm-hmm.
yes, Taz still has a show, guys. It's not, but I was listening to it, and something he brought up made me really get into this and think about it and go, if you are a diehard wrestling fan and you're on the edge of like, I don't like the WWE because it's sports entertainment. I like Ring of Honor. You like a company that doesn't even technically exist yet with All Elite Wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
because it's wrestling.
Yeah.
Shouldn't Randy Orton and AJ Styles be like one of the top matches you're looking forward to?
Yeah, you presented this argument to me prior to the show, and I'm like, oh. And then I got to thinking about it, and you're 100% right on this. I will give you 100% of the credit that this is your styles clash, for lack of a better way to put it. It's a guy who came up on the indie circuit versus a guy who was a born made man on the big leagues.
Yeah, that promo because that was something Taz said, and it kind of struck a chord with me. Is the promo that Randy Orton cut a couple of weeks ago on Raw? Taz was like, I don't know that was a promo.
Mm-hmm.
Randy Orton probably feels, and AJ Styles probably feels a lot of the things that they said, and that's why, they always say the best promos, right, have a little bit of the truth in
Mm-hmm.
there, and they probably do. I mean, AJ probably does say, well, you were born, all you had to do was call your daddy, to make a phone, get your daddy to make a phone call, and you got a job, which
Yeah.
is technically what happened. But at the same time, Orton doesn't necessarily like the guy, because remember he was in the whole flippy thing
Yeah.
about guys doing all the flippy things down in these little gyms and stuff like that, and bingo halls and stuff.
He's the perfect snob to go up against, the first establishment character.
Is he not? And that's what I said. Is
Yeah.
he not the epitome? He is the face of sports entertainment. He never, and I don't want to say paid dues because he was down in Ohio Valley Wrestling and all that kind of stuff, doing this.
Mm.
But he was always, and as far as the wrestling world, born with a silver spoon in his mouth.
Yeah.
And AJ had to pay his dues for a decade, to
Yeah.
get to the WWE. So that's what I'm saying. AJ represents pro wrestling that a lot of your diehard fans live and die by. Orton is the face of sports entertainment, and this is what they're giving you at WrestleMania.
Mm. And I think most people aren't picking up on that yet. And it's SmackDown is not always the show people focus the most on, but I think it's going to have some of the better stuff on Mania week. So I'm looking forward to this match. I think it's going to be a big deal. And I think between now and WrestleMania, it'll start defining and shaping up to be a phenomenal match.
I mean, I hope so, because
Yeah.
the other thing is Randy Orton is when I say a very solid performer,
Yeah.
we've always heard the stuff. He plays it safe.
Mm.
He doesn't always take a chance. He did with Seth Rollins, and it was a WrestleMania moment.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Styles might be somebody else that he would say, I'll take the chance, because AJ, and I just think as safe as the chocolate dip cone is, him and AJ have potential to be the best wrestling match on the card.
It could be, yeah, very well could be. It very well could be the best match on the card, technically. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to find something I don't like about Mania so far, and I'm not doing a very good job.
I mean, I'm sure, if you want to be an ass about it, you could find something that you're really not sold on, because can't we all? I mean, if you want to be negative, there's stuff you can find, but hey, let's be positive and find some good stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, but the rumors are going around, obviously, that he's not on the card yet. The Undertaker, it's funny, he's on the side of the truck with the Undertaker logo, but with the WrestleMania logo, but he's not actually officially announced with a match or anything. So that's kind of odd. But recently, like this week, he was spotted at the Performance Center. So the rumor started, is he getting ready for something for WrestleMania? But everybody's pointing to that answer is no, because he's locked in gear. He's ready for the Saudi trip in May.
Yeah. I think that's what his thing is. I think that's if you're going to wrestle one event a year, that's the one to wrestle. You're going to get a huge payday. You're going to work one match. He doesn't have to do anything besides come out and cut a couple of promos on Raw to set it up, and people will be looking forward to it again. He's the Undertaker.
And the crazy thing is, did you ever think you'd hear the day that some show they're putting on in Saudi Arabia. That's the biggest paydays of the year,
Yeah.
not WrestleMania.
Yep, definitely. And he mainly undertakes in Saudi Arabia. So that's just what it's going to become, and that's things change. We're in a world that changes so dramatically. It's not in question that wrestling will change too. So.
Yeah.
Not like the good old days where you got your Mania. Let's get everybody a Mania payoff.
Well, I mean, but if you're going to chase, like I said, 2 paydays a year, because they're doing 2 Saudi trips a year. Think about that. I mean, if he could make a couple $1 million for.
Accidentally summoned me?
No, I did not summon you, Siri. Sorry, Siri thought I was calling her, folks. Sorry, live on a podcast, right? How often does that happen?
Bruce, take your meds.
Bruce, take your pills. Yeah. I guess she was telling me to take my pills, I guess. But I mean, yeah. I mean, you can make $4 to $6 million wrestling 2 matches a year.
Yeah.
First of all, that's freaking insane.
Yeah.
Some people make that argument with Brock Lesnar because it's about what he does, right?
Yeah.
He does a little more where he's exaggerating, but still. But yeah, I mean, and that's Vince taking care of Taker.
Mm-hmm.
Say, look, man, just stay in decent enough shape. Go over there, because over there, X-Pac makes a joke about, I don't wrestle like that anymore. I give them the hits and I go home.
Yeah.
That's what Taker's going to do. He's going to go over there. He's going to give you an old school. He's going to give you, if it depends on who he wrestles, he's going to give you a last ride, a tombstone, and a chokeslam.
Mm-hmm.
He'll give them that running, the elbow to the corner to the boot.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, yeah, there's going to be the hits. That's what you're going to get. You're not, and he doesn't have to, and they're going to eat it up.
And it's not going to be a 20-minute match. It's going to be a 5-minute match, maybe. It's going to play his strengths. They're going to put him in with somebody who's safe to work with, like Cena or something like that, like they've done before. It's the perfect matchup for him. And I can't blame, if they give me $1 million to go, I don't really. A lot of the Saudi stuff has died off. A lot of the bad press they were getting. Now, it's not like it didn't happen, but it's, people forget. People forget quickly.
Let me ask you a question. You just triggered something to me that I hadn't even thought of. Maybe we're not getting Cena or Taker at Mania because they're going to have because they haven't done anything since last Mania, right?
Not that I know.
I mean, not against each other. I mean, I know they did the Saudi stuff, the tag team, the fossil match that everybody wants to get about, the DX versus the Brothers of Destruction.
Mm-hmm.
But could Cena and Taker have a match at Saudi, May 3rd, and that's why neither one of them have anything? Because if you put them at Mania, and then do they not have the luster of being on the card against each other at the Saudi show?
I don't know if you do something on Mania that put that over.
That's what I'm saying. Have something happen at Mania that's how you get to the Saudi show.
Yeah.
And they both get a huge freaking payday for going over there and putting on a match, him and Cena, for 5 minutes, and the Saudis eat it up, and they walk out of there with a couple $1 million richer for the two of them.
Yeah, that's a definite possibility. We keep saying Cena needs to come back and face Angle at Mania, even though the right business decision is to have him face Baron Corbin. But I still want to see him face Cena.
Well, speaking of walking out with Cena and having millions, Nikki Bella announced on her retirement on Total Bellas. Her last match, we haven't seen her wrestle a match since Evolution, right? WWE Evolution. Bree's already retired, so the Bellas are officially gone, always with a chance to return. Because, like you told me earlier, we were joking around. Nobody really retires from wrestling.
Nope. And they're talking about, she said she's open to a return, even right after retiring. She retired on her TV show, but that show's work too. So
right, and then of course they're doing a podcast out. Bella's podcast available on Apple Podcast everywhere.
They got a fashion. Bree's got a fashion line. It's they got plenty.
My kid actually has some of those.
Huh?
Caitlin actually owns some of that
Birdie
B stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But before we move on, I want to ask you, what is her? She's a 2-time Divas champion. She had the longest running, single reign. She doesn't have the total number of days. AJ still owns that, but AJ had 3. She only has 2. What is her legacy in wrestling? I mean, she was for 307 days or something. She was a Divas champion.
I think she is the crossover. I think she's the crossover champion, that bridge from Diva to women's champion. I mean, she never held the women's belt, but she's the one that was. Now, I'm not saying she's a great wrestler. She was most improved wrestler. She got pretty good towards the end.
She did.
But looked like Trish Stratus, who came in for appearance and wound up being a decent wrestler by the time she retired. Nikki's going to be a legend like that. Hall of Famer. The Bellas definitely Hall of Famers. Like them or not, they're Hall of Famers. I think she's going to be seen as a groundbreaking performer somehow. So,
I agree with you. I think she was the bridge from diva to women's wrestling, and I don't mean because she was kind of one of the last ones to do that transition over. And let me rephrase that too, because I know some people will say, "What about Paige?" To me, Paige was never a diva.
No, she was the anti-diva. That was
She was
right?
She was the beginning of the wrestling, women's wrestling, not divas and stuff. So I think, like you said, that's why Nikki's she was a diva, totally. I mean, and then she put in the work, and I think she became a decent wrestler. Wasn't great, but good enough that she can make that transition.
And also, she put over Charlotte Flair.
Absolutely.
She's one of the people that established Charlotte Flair as a legitimate competitor. So
that's
a big deal.
The only way you get made is by beating somebody.
Yep.
And so that she was the somebody.
People miss out on that point too much. Sometimes it's the most important person is the one that loses.
Right. So, well, let's move along because the last little joke of WrestleMania here. If you're into UFC at all, MMA, Daniel Cormier was doing an interview, and he kind of said, he may go to WrestleMania to cost Brock Lesnar the title because he wants to fight Brock Lesnar in the UFC. Mm-hmm. And as long as he's, the Universal Champion or whatever, he's like, I can hurry him back if I can kind of help make him lose and speed him up to get him back over. I think, in my personal opinion, this is the last fight Daniel Cormier wants before he hangs it up.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And they've talked about putting him on SmackDown as a commentator.
This is crazy. We discussed this prior to recording.
Pieces falling into place.
If DC's going to be involved in SmackDown, we've heard rumors of Brock moving to SmackDown on the roster. These two, obviously, they need to have this fight because it's a mega fight in UFC. Mm-hmm. They are both going to get super paid. Get the belt off of Brock. Get him MMA. Get him back to UFC. Have this fight. Then, boom, he's back on SmackDown. Get DC on the commentary on there. It's instant. Anytime they're around each other, there's going to be a little bit of irritation between those two. And
it's a credibility factor, and it'll introduce people to Daniel Cormier inside the wrestling bubble who might not know who he is because he's an MMA fighter. I like the way they're booking this.
UFC and WWE starting to maybe work a little bit together and kind of blend together a little bit. To the point that the first thing that popped into my head this week when Conor McGregor said he was retiring, I went, oh, man, I wonder if he'd come over to WWE because he'd be a hell of a character in WWE.
Yeah. But he made too much money as a MMA fighter.
Well, there is that, but I also don't know that he's got the temperament to be a WWE guy. Yeah.
To do a job.
Yeah. He would be one of those. Who was it that was like, why would I come in and... Oh, remember Kurt Angle when he first was coming in? He was like, but I don't ever want to lose.
Yeah.
Because nobody would believe that or whatever. He goes, I can't ever be beat. It's like, Bruce Pritchard was like, that's not really how this works. Somebody, at some point, you have to lose, right?
Yeah. It's wrestling.
It's wrestling. Simple.
Yes.
But something that's outside of wrestling, that's the ugly side of wrestling, I did want to ask you about. I know a lot of stuff went down with Lucha Underground this week.
Yeah.
This is the bad part of wrestling that we don't like covering. But we knew that the lawsuits had been filed. Legal stuff in wrestling is never a good thing, right?
No. Mm-hmm. It all needs to be kayfabe. I mean, that's just the way it should be. When you got lawyers and agents, that's when it's not kayfabe anymore, and that's when it's not wrestling anymore.
Yeah.
It's business. It's like Major League Sports now that you're a free agent. And I mean, I understand Joey Ryan's a free agent now, and that's cool. But when it becomes Lucha Underground should have not kept those people in these contracts where they couldn't work for bigger promotions when they're not doing anything with them. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And the fact that they had to get lawyers involved to get them out of these bullshit contracts, that sucks.
I mean, before this was all settled, because by the way, what we're discussing is there were a multitude of wrestlers involved, but Evil East, Joey Ryan, Thunder Rosa kind of were the, ones that most people recognize their names. And apparently they have come to terms. Everything's been settled. It's probably going to have a non-disclosure agreement, so they don't talk about it. But even before all this happened, it was funny. Earlier, there was a video earlier this week of Evil East saying, so Lucha Underground and Impact Wrestling run co-branded events, but I can't work for Impact because I have a contract with Lucha. They won't let me work with it,
Mm-hmm.
And it's true. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
Because you would think they would say, hey, go work for Impact, so when we get back, you'll still have a big...
If they come back.
Well, right. We knew a month ago, Chris DeJoseph, who's one of the co-executive producers, he essentially said he thought that Season 5 was dead. He doesn't think it's coming back. So, but that was what made it even worse, that we even got to this legal parts where lawyers were involved and things had to be settled. So, but from my understanding at this point, like I said, Joey Ryan's a free agent. Evil East, Thunder Rosa, all those guys are hopefully, and gals are going to be ready to get back out into the world and wrestle for other promotions, whether it be Impact, AEW.
Well, that's the thing. Ryan is buddies with the AEW folks.
Yeah.
Does he sign a contract with them? Are they that willing to embrace the entertainment aspect he brings in?
It could be. I would say that it could be the case, but the question I have out of all of that, are they probably the only one? Because with All In, he was there.
Yeah.
Is Impact going to bring him in and put him on TV?
Impact might. They wouldn't be doing the dick flip, but I mean, they might bring him in because he's a character and he'll draw.
Yeah, I'm just not sure. I'm just not 100% sold on the whole that put him on TV and stuff. I think
now if AEW is going to be a streaming service, basically, a no-brainer.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know what their TV deal looks like though.
Yeah,
and nobody knows what their TV deal looks like. But for now, they're basically a streaming service. So I would have him on my shows, on the big shows for now. I don't know if I'd sign a contract to him.
Well, there's rumors out this week that a lot of people believe that the television show is going to be a streaming service, not through an actual cable channel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
That's a possible. And there's another guy that they're debating his contract with AEW right now, Pac.
Yeah.
People don't know if he's contracted to AEW. Pac just had to pull out of WrestleCon because he didn't get a work visa in time. And WrestleCon is part of Mania weekend, not officially, but it's one of the bigger events. And if he doesn't have it by now, will he be ready for Double or Nothing? Because I was looking forward to seeing him face Paige. That could be all up in the air now.
Yeah, Hangman Page is a future star. By the way, there's an interview in the archives that I performed in person down in the Atlanta Center Stage that I'm a huge fan of. So, but I just don't know, man. Like I said, Eric Bischoff has said he would go streaming service, knowing what he knows now and what he all the stuff he knows about television. I think that's not a bad idea.
I don't think it's a bad idea either, because people that want to watch it will watch it. And the problem with it is you have trouble attracting your casual fan, and that's the Impact thing.
I'll give you one that just popped into my head. So there's this new service that's coming out in the fall. It's a streaming service. It's called Apple TV Plus.
Mm-hmm.
iPhone. It's with all your iPhones, with all your iPads, with all your Apple TVs.
Yeah, the Indie Wrestling Club strikes me as Android people.
Could be.
They're Android snobs.
maybe. But there's just all of these different things out there.
Yeah.
I don't even know why they just, just do your own streaming channel.
Like Jarrett Parsons, and get paid by the download or paid by the watch.
I mean, just put your own, make it an app.
Mm-hmm.
And, people can stream it. They can watch it on their TV. They can watch it on their phones or iPads, whatever, and sell advertising on it or something.
Yeah, there's so many different ways to market stuff right now. And I think with Cody being a younger man that's more in tune with what goes on out in the world, I think Cody's the perfect person to have in charge of this. He'll make the right decision.
Could be, yeah, could be. But speaking of the future of wrestling, one of the last topics I wanted to talk before we hit something close to home, Jordan Grace was on Interactive Wrestling Radio And essentially, I'm going to paraphrase that she said that she doesn't think the national audience is quite ready for intergender wrestling. And I know that's something we personally, I go back and forth on uh, as well about it in general. Um, what's your kind of thoughts? I'll get your opinion first on the whole intergender.
I Intergender wrestling to me is like blood. I don't really want to see it, but when it's the right time and you can work it into the storyline, I'm okay with it. Uh, we were talking about Dylan booking the show last week at Southern Honor. They had a storyline that worked into Danny Jordan versus Ashton Starr. You got an intergender match. It was a really good match, but I wouldn't want to go see it every week. I don't like it, and it might be so. I mean, I might be I'm a 46-year-old Southern male. It's not my demographic. It's not the kind of stuff I want to watch. That don't mean that it's not the stuff everyone wants to watch. Personally, I'm opposed to intergender wrestling. I don't like it, but I don't decide what's right for wrestling as a whole because I'm not the audience anymore. I'm not the target audience. Uh, I think eventually we'll see more of it, but you know, it's like women in the military. I don't understand why anyone would want to serve in the military, but women want to do it. And women would be in combat. So okay,
But do you
that's not
think
my
it's?
thing.
But do you
But
think it's because we were I don't want to say we were the way we were brought up or whatever. But I'm a big don't lay your hands on a woman, blah blah blah,
yeah,
and I get it's entertainment and I understand that. So that's kind of not it. It's her kind of thing was Impact's ready to take a chance and kind of open the door. I know don't they have a match that's coming up pretty soon? It's Disco Inferno, Glenn Gilberti, whatever. I think he's going by that now. And Scarlett. I don't think they've got a match coming up.
that's a weird combination.
You got to be watching Impact lately. I know you're not a big fan of it. They've
No, I'm
done,
a fan. I just can't watch every single
yeah.
wrestling show on
So
earth.
they've kind of gotten to where this match is coming up, but and he kind of said, "Hey, look, I'll make positive anything they give me. I'll make it into the best that I can, kind of thing, and make a positive out of it." He's not really complaining about it,
But he's
um,
also not that guy. He's not the supportive women's wrestling guy.
and he's not. And that's because they're blending reality with, that he's not a
Oh,
big women.
so it works better.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's kind of always been my thing. Like, I'm okay with it if it makes sense. Like, you know, give me Jordan Grace versus, down the road Disco. Okay, I can see that. I don't want to see Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman
No.
because that's just there's no, in your head like think about it, we struggled with like for in our youth we struggled with Rey Mysterio Big Show.
Yeah.
So now you're going to tell me it's
And
going
it's
to
that
be
whole Marco Stunt thing too. I don't want to see that.
right.
It's a. If I don't want to see that, why would I want to see the Alexa Bliss Braun Strowman thing? It's to me, it's not about sexism. I'm the parent of a daughter. You're the parent of 3 daughters. Um, I don't. It's not a sexist thing. I don't see me not liking it as being sexist. I just don't like it,
Right. But
and I don't mean that. Doesn't mean somebody else doesn't. And in wrestling, there's a place for everything. It doesn't mean we have to watch everything though. So
no, absolutely not.
I
And
think we'll still be holdouts. They may go to it, but as I've always said, if you don't like it, go watch something else. So,
plenty of product out there, right? Plenty of
yep.
product out there. It goes back to like I said, I'm okay with somebody doing it as long as it in storyline makes sense.
Yeah.
But then the flip side of that argument was something we saw at Southern Honor Wrestling. Everybody lost their shit at the end of the show because Brooklyn Creed gets into the ring, yelling at Corey Hollis. She slaps him in the face, and then Corey drops her on her head with a pile driver onto the exposed
Yeah.
wood of the ring. And then everybody was not okay with that. I understand.
They use that as a story tool in both places. They make Corey Hollis hated even more by laying his hands on a woman. But what 3 matches earlier, Ashton Starr was celebrated for doing it
that's where I say it's a fine
because
line.
that's where it makes sense, and it made sense in both instances.
Yeah. So It does. It's a weird thing because you're kind of like Brooklyn Creed could probably take Corey Hollis. So that's kind of the stuff I struggle with when you're, they're like, oh well, this can make sense and this can't. It's really a fine line. But overall, that show ended on fire. That was a huge way to end that show. The crowd was just floored by it, and social media went a buzz all about it.
This is a situation where this is Dylan's challenge against Todd Sexton's for Georgia Booker of the Year. This, to me, is his canvas. And 2019, he has had a hell of a run. Now, Todd's doing really good, too.
Yeah.
But Dylan has had an amazing run. Kudos.
Georgia wrestling's on fire between those two promotions easily. I know there was a lot of chatter just about Georgia wrestling in general over the last couple of weeks. About everybody seems to be drawing, everybody seems to be on fire, which is great. But Gary, of course, is promoting the May show.
Yeah.
Southern Honor, Wrestling 1000, HHW 1000.
1,000 people.
And we're gonna go ahead and plug it out. I know it's a long way out, and we'll kind of take a break there for a little while about it. But just the things that are being planned, buy your tickets now.
Yeah.
SouthernHonorWrestling.com. Go ahead and buy the tickets now because you are going to regret not being in the building that night if you're not there. That's all I'm going to say.
Because the dirt sheets will be talking about it. Meltzer.
Oh yeah, it's going to be on the national
talking about it.
So anywho, we'll kind of let them. That's again, get your tickets. You got to get them right now. Well, what else you got, man? You got anything else on your notes over there? I know there's one other thing I wanted to address before we got out of here, but that's
Go ahead with your thing. I'm all tapped out.
Well, the brackets things are officially done. We did our March Madness. I know there was some, a lot of people. Let me preface this with when you do these brackets, it's easier to do a top 10 or so 8 to do a bracket than it is 64, because when you get past 64, everybody has to complain about not being in.
Yeah.
Well, we should have been in there. Okay. I mean, there's 64. I mean, Jesus, you know how many promotions there are in this country? And I get it. There were some big ones that we didn't put on there. I mean,
there's probably 64 promotions just in Georgia alone.
Exactly. So it wasn't a knock on anybody who wasn't in the brackets. It was just, my argument was, it wasn't even really like, I don't want to say, it was promotions we know, promotions we go to, promotions we've seen. I went on the Fight app. I went on, Powerbomb TV, Power Slam, social media visibility, all those kind of things, and just pulled out the 64, whatever. And last but not least, it was for fun. It wasn't. Yeah. It was fan voted. There was nobody, saying anything. When this was crowned, there was no trophy or anything. Although the winning promotion will probably get a trophy. Because the promoter will buy them one to put it up, because I know that we know the promoter. So it's real simple. We're just going to give you the top 10. Again, it was fan voted. Take it for what it is, folks, right? It was a fun bracket, March Madness, just kind of getting in there. Coming in at number 10, by the way, there were 9,778 votes cast.
That's a lot of votes.
A lot of votes.
All we've ever done.
It is. It's the most votes we've ever had on one of our brackets. And it was a weird results. You can tell kind of our home base kind of was represented, like who were a lot of our listeners were based out of. But then I was kind of surprised on some. So let's go work backwards. We're not going to cover it long. I'm just going to give it what it is. Southern Underground Pro from just up north. Right up the it's from
Real
us.
Good promotion.
Real good promotion. Number 9 was Ohio Valley Wrestling. I was shocked they weren't higher. Yeah. But, hey, it is what it is. Wrestle Pro, been around. Good. Chikaro was at 7, which was, I kind of figured it might be a little bit higher. But it is what it is. Action and Matt Griffin over, here in Georgia. Making a lot of waves right now. They made it 6. Fest Wrestling. Most famously, we know them and familiar to them because the Gymnasty Boys are there all the time. Good fun promotion from everything.
Yeah, interested in seeing them. That's one show I want to go to.
Yeah, we got to make that drive down.
Yeah,
check it out. Smash Wrestling from Canada does not surprise me because Lewis does a phenomenal job covering a lot of their stuff from up there. So a lot of our fan base, again, would know Smash Wrestling. That's, excuse me, Sebastian Suave. That's his promotion up there. He's real big into there. So that doesn't shock me in the least. AML flew out of nowhere.
They're a big deal.
They are a
really
huge deal.
Solid promotion.
Yeah, they're really involved in WrestleCade weekend. So if you're, which we're a big proponent of going to, we talk about it a lot. So doesn't surprise me. Southern Fried Championship Wrestling, promotion of the year in the state of Georgia, comes in at number 2. They doesn't surprise me. We know a lot of our fans are obviously Southern Fried fans. We go to a lot of those shows, most of those shows, to be honest with you. And of course, number 1, not surprising, Southern Honor Wrestling. Why? Because Dylan, Gary, they were promoting the heck out of it, putting the bracket out there, and their fans voted, and that's kind of what we said. If you wanted to win, get your share it, retweet it, all that good stuff, and it would get out there and get more votes. So Gary and Southern Honor Wrestling, Dylan and those guys did a phenomenal job.
Exactly, and this goes back. We were talking about the Stephen Platinum thing, where he came out and said that if you're not getting attention, find out why you're not getting attention. Market yourselves,
right?
Promote yourselves, and the 2 winners were the 2 biggest promotions in Georgia, but there are 2 promoters that promote their work,
right?
And people see it because of that. Building fans every show, inviting people out to do reviews, inviting out podcasters to talk about your shows. That's how you promote your shows, and that's how you get people to pay attention to you.
Yeah, and again, that was kind of the funny thing when you go back and look at it. These were the promotions that were in the top 10. They were sharing, they were retweeting, they were liking, all that good stuff. So, and then their fans were doing the same. Their fans were sharing and retweeting. So again, we weren't trying to sit there and say like, hey, this is the end all be all of, March Madness brackets. It was just, we wanted to do it for fun, see kind of, and for me, to be honest with you, I learned a lot from this, from my side of it. I'm like, okay, well, this is clearly where our base is, and it from download statistics and stuff like that, but it's cool to see. But my other part of it, like you said, was to see the promoters that were going that little bit extra, who were willing to like and share. Because I tagged pretty much everybody that I could tag in the tweets and in the posts, and, kind of drawing their attention to it to say, hey, this is going on, thinking you would be able to draw attention, from other parts of the country. Maybe somebody might see it and go, what's that one? It's, boom, and then give it a look. So Southern Honors, obviously, first place, Southern Fried, second place. AML was 3, Smash Wrestling 4, Fest at 5. So that's the top 5. So kudos to those. And again, guys, it was for fun. Relax, take a deep breath. But man, hey, you said you got nothing else, man? You're good to go?
I got nothing else.
All right, well, man, you know what the old saying is, if I've got nothing and you've got nothing, man, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.